Welcome. I'm Kinetic Symphony. I hunt down and report on mysterious and weird, true stories, from glitches to the paranormal. Case file number 666, written by mattcat, speaking money into existence. This is a bundled triple story from our very own listener, mattcat, The Kinetic Kitchen. I'm in my kitchen eating dinner, listening to Kinetic Symphony on YouTube, who covers Glitch in the Matrix stories. At one point, as I'm munching down on some zucchini slices, I get the most intense feeling of déjà vu ever. I'm physically getting goosebumps now as I type this out. Background context. I had just been telling people all day about quantum immortality, which I quite literally learned from listening to Kinetic Symphony. And now I think I'm a time hopper and I had died from a severe eating disorder, either early 2022 or late 2021. So as I feel this déjà vu, I think, wow, déjà vu as I listen to Glitch in the Matrix stories, and I've been telling the homies about quantum immortality all day, and laughed it off as nothing. Not even 5 seconds later, I hear Kinetic Symphony say, a man's voice in the same kitchen, but in a different universe. So me, 25-year-old man, experiencing déjà vu in my kitchen, but in a different universe? Oh my goodness, I was beyond spooked, and even commented on my experience on the video, to which Kinetic Symphony replied, symmetry in thought. It sends a chill down your spine, doesn't it? In a good way, as I felt goosebumps down my spine. Okay, now I'm even more spooked. The famous, debatable, Kinetic Symphony replies to me on my first comment ever about the déjà vu and then speaks the chill down my spine into existence. Not sure what went on here, but I would love to hear your thoughts. Ear biscuits, folded chips. I was orthorexic by choice, which means to focus solely on a diet pertaining to healthy foods, clean eating, and I live a very active and physical lifestyle. I'm a skateboarder, get roughly 10,000 steps a day, and I strength train to build muscle. I started a clean bulk, which is to increase my calorie intake in order to put on weight, which in turn puts on muscle as long as I get sufficient protein and healthy fats. So I started eating some fun foods for the first time in around 5 years. I had just opened a bag of keto chips, Parmesan garlic potato chips, as I wanted a nice crunch with my meal. I love the folded chips. They're extra crunchy and for some reason always packed with the most flavor and seasoning. For the first time eating chips in many years, opting for the folded ones, I'm watching an episode of Rhett and Link's podcast, Ear Biscuits, on YouTube. As I'm eating the folded chips, they literally start talking about folded potato chips and how they're the best ones. Link talks about how the folded chips are the best for a good minute as I'm chomping on the folded potato chips myself. This cannot be summed up by mere coincidence, as this happened after so many glitches, coincidences, and déjà vu moments. This world is a simulation, and I really think that whatever I do for some reason, it resonates in other forms. Movies I see for the first time, podcasts or videos I'm listening to for the first time, etc. Speaking money into existence. This is pure manifestation at its finest, and can only be explained as such. Okay, so following all these crazy coincidences and manifesting thoughts into reality, I decided to do an experiment to see if it was truly a simulation and matrix situation. I said out loud, I am going to find a large sum of money, randomly on the ground. Not 2 days later, I was planning on just having a rest day and staying home all day. However, I needed to go to the store for some items I needed. I parked my car and thought, I guess I'll go up these stairs, which is odd because I haven't walked up these stairs in a good 8 months. When I get to the top of the stairs, I find a wad of cash. I picked it up and put it in my pocket without counting it. On the drive home, I laughed and spoke out loud. Watch, there'll just be a $100 bill nestled in the middle, and laughed about it. I had only seen $1 bills on the outside of the wad. I get home, and sitting in the middle is a $100 bill, followed by 4 20s, 10 ones, and a $5 bill. I literally and physically manifested $195 straight cash into my reality. This is definitely a simulation, and I have the ability to manifest anything I want. Is it a blessing, a curse, or just Symmetry in thought. Definitely sends a chill down my spine, but in a good way. Case notes for file 666. So I do remember replying to your comment, but I didn't really know how intense this was for you. It was just a comment I was reading that didn't have as much context, obviously, as an entire story like this. Regarding the first story where you were listening to me in your kitchen, the Kinetic Kitchen, I'm not sure how you would have died. It's not impossible. Obviously, we're really fragile as human beings. We can die so easily. We can have random strokes, and even if you're perfectly healthy, you could just have a blood clot in your head, and 1 second you're fine, no symptoms, perfectly healthy, go to the doctor, clean bill of health, next second, just dead. It's not fair, and it doesn't happen that often, but it can happen. And maybe, well, you said you were eating zucchini slices, so maybe you were eating a zucchini slice and you choked on it and died. Just like that. Of course, if quantum immortality is real, this all balances out. Our fragility is fine because we can die, but we just transpose ourselves to another us in a different universe of which there's nearly infinite. So it's fine. No worries. It is very sad for the people there that don't realize that quantum immortality is a thing. They just think you died and that's it. The end of your story, or maybe you went to heaven or something like that. But yeah, at least you live on, if that is what happened. I don't know, it might just be a coincidence, and the same thing for you listening to Rhett and Link's podcast and eating kettle chips and they're talking about it. You know, coincidences do happen. So I don't know if you're manifesting, maybe subconsciously willing yourself to be exposed to these coincidences. And there is something to say there, because some people experience more coincidences than others. Are they merely perceiving them more often, or are they actually manifesting their will, subconsciously or consciously, into the universe, so that their minds are guided along a pathway of sorts? Sort of like a guided experience in a game versus unguided. You can ask the universe for not visual hints, but sort of a inclination on where to go and how to do things if you want to wind up to a certain position. And that's exactly what I think happened with the third glitch, where you manifested money into the universe. I'm not sure you actually physically created money. I don't think that's possible. The amount of energy required to create mass from energy is mind-boggling. So what probably happened is someone in the universe went to that place and they dropped money, and the universe is aware of this information. If we want to attribute it to being a simulation, well, it's just data. Data stored on a server partition in the real world. So then you're in the real world, and a developer sees this request by you to manifest money. Well, they can't create it. That would violate the laws they're given by the game, but they can lead you towards it. So maybe there's instincts in you, influences, that led you to make decisions where you wound up exactly where you needed to be to pick up that money. And to you, it just feels like, oh wow, I created this money from nothing. But instead, you were just guided along a path that led you to it. When I tried to bike from Florida to North Carolina, I only made it one day, and I was trying desperately to find somewhere to sleep. And I was just saying, it was all in the back of my mind, but it was part of my thoughts, you know. I guess some of it was bleeding into my consciousness. And eventually I just find out, okay, I'm never going to find a place, and everything here is owned, it's private property, I'm never going to find a place to sleep. And then eventually, just as I was thinking this, there was a path up ahead that curved, I followed it, and voila, there was an empty spot, no one around, wasn't private property, no markings, so I just managed to find a place to sleep, which was nice, because I was tired. So yeah, I think we can manifest our will into the universe, and what really that just means is asking the universe for guidance. Sort of like going into story mode for a game. I like that idea, but I think there's a lot of truth to it. Those are my thoughts, and thank you for sharing the stories with us.
Case file number 667, written by Yeomanticore, Crossing the Threshold of Time. I actually don't know where to post this. I am browsing the internet with random Google searches like Superman is too slow for Goku, or something like Superman is not a skilled martial artist.
or any debate about how weak and inconsistent Superman's abilities, feats, and skills are because I find him way too boring to begin with. Around 7:53 a.m. GMT plus 8, I do these random searches before I play Gwent Mobile at 8 sharp. Last time I checked, the time was around 7:58 a.m. I finished a random Quora post about the aforementioned topic, and when I checked the time again, it was 7:43 a.m. I had a miniature heart attack. I ran downstairs to check the living room clock. It's also 7:43 a.m. I asked my sister the time on her phone. It's 7:44 a.m. Okay, I'm just freaking out now. The laws of reality have been disrupted. I don't trust clocks now. I have never set the time on my phone since it's using auto-default international time, Manila time. I'm not sure what happened. I'm not high nor drunk. I've never been high or drunk for 5 years ever since college, and I'm pretty sure that the time I started browsing was 7:53 a.m. I'm pretty tight on time due to my work schedule. I just finished my night shift at 6:30 a.m. and arrived at home at 7 a.m. Exposure to science fiction ideas is scaring me that I have crossed some sort of threshold and the timeline has been disrupted. If it is, hopefully for the better, like an end to the war or climate change or something. I hope so. Bonus file, written by Majestic Anybody 2025. The Visitor in All Black. I, 23 female, have been a geriatric nurse for 2.5 years now, and I experience a lot of death and dying. One thing I have surprisingly never experienced is paranormal activity or spirits. My father has worked with the Paranormal Research Society and has been on numerous paranormal research projects over the years. I've heard crazy amounts of stories throughout my lifetime, but I'm a see it to believe it kind of gal. I have always been a skeptic when my father talked about actually seeing spirits and apparitions. With that being said, I have never seen anything that I could call concrete evidence of something paranormal, but today forever changed my life and my reality. Today I was standing in front of a medication administration cart, preparing my medications, when one of my nurse's aides came to report that one of my patients, who was actively dying, had a family member in the room on the floor. My first thought was, they do not have enough chairs in the room. I will complete my current task and then go address this. I took the medications I had prepared for the appropriate patient. The appropriate patient's room just happened to be directly across the hall from said patient's room, with the family member on the floor. As I'm walking by, I glance in the actively dying patient's room to observe this family member on the floor. I see, from the knee down, 2 legs dressed in black slacks and all black leather shoes, lying flat on the floor, face down. These legs seemed to be lying parallel to the bed where my dying patient was lying and were sticking out from the end of the bed frame. I glimpsed over, noticed this, and went into the room across the hall to give the medications to the appropriate patient, as I did not want them to be misplaced. I was in the room for an estimated 30 to 45 seconds before exiting and walking across the hall. When I entered the room again of the actively dying patient, the legs were gone. No one was on the floor. The patient's family member was sitting in a chair at the bedside, with clothes on that do not resemble the ones seen on the legs I had seen before. I immediately asked this family member if they had been on the floor. The family member stated, no one has been in here except me. I did a room search and did not see anyone else in the room either. The other visiting family members were outside during this and also did not have clothes that resembled the ones I had just seen on the legs of whatever entity was in here. I spent all afternoon trying to find someone with black pants and black leather shoes. No one turned up, and I still cannot find a way to justify what I saw. Keep in mind, the nurse's aide saw exactly what I saw too and described the same feat in the same position. Also, the family member that was in the room did not observe what my nurse's aide and I observed. Has anyone on here had a similar experience?